So tell me, do you love winning? And would you say for you love Capital 100.4 FM? If your answer is yes, then you should be getting ready to win something big, because you stand a chance to win every single day, and all it takes is just a few taps on your phone. Here's how it works. So listen to Capital 100.4 FM online on our website, www.capitalfm.co.zw, or via our Zim Papers app. Take a screenshot while you're listening, then you are in the running to win $15 worth of data every single day. And that's not all. Every week, every single week, one lucky listener walks away with a Taura branded power bank that's perfect for keeping your device charged on the go. It literally is that easy. Listen, screenshot, and win. 30 minutes. It's 20 minutes after 10. Music of Takura Mfaro. So do you think your children are also able to communicate with you if they may be experiencing challenges in school? And when you look back into your own journey, either you changed schools, or was it an easy process for you? I was just checking with you about that a little bit earlier. 0719100404. A couple of weeks now, we've been trying to explore this mystical creature. We want to land the discussion this morning. Rejoice, thank you so much for listening in and the love that you have for our station. talent. How are you? Thank you so much for tuning in, listening into Capital. Vitalis Wamukaere. My Sheila. Good to know that you are locked in on Capital 100.4 FM. Harare Zapitsaka. Maviko sata chichitaura nyaya dzenjuzu. Wakazotiwo umire papi. We want to land that discussion this morning, looking into the different facets of our lives, whether you are Islam, Christian, scientific. We want to round that, and then also our African perspective around the idea of this mystic creature that's coming up next. And last week we spent time just, realizing that from Harare all the way to Japan, in Africa, at least 20 languages have a word for this mystical creature. Could it all just be dreams? Mythical?
Zvisirizo moshande yako vakunongedza plazo vasimbori neinazvo nyika ine meso vembedza nemuridzo yofuratira wazvisa mumoto zvazve kwako naiyo imiedzo woita zvisirizvo moshande yako wakunongedza plazo vasimbori neinazvo nyika ine meso vembedza nemuridzo yofuratira wazvisa mumoto zvazve kwako Asunombozitirei, ko baby, asunombozitirei, ko baby.
It's OB, the producer.
Okay. Hey. Yeah, Madam Dada. That's what up, Madam Dada. Showed up with some dada. They put up with some dada. Wakandi wana siri chinu. Ugati pepe uya kuno shao. Nakufitwa ne muroti. Takasangana zvechi. Ugati tiranu enyama ngatingo sangana kamboti. Ndakakuvimbisa tichatipisa. Pepe uya kuno timboitisa. Wirira natowirira. Nawandichanzisisa. Kasi muda umedam dada.
Akakarubva kuna K-Chap's Holy 10 on that particular one. Wait for Your Love is also a track we listened to that had Will Gittins on that one. Taurus Riley on Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's Heartbeat. It's us sliding into Faith Facts. Tuesday is all about us trying to figure out if truly there can be an intersection between our faith and our African beliefs. Can you truly be African whilst also identifying as Christian? Is a question we typically want to answer every single Tuesday morning right on this show. We've been exploring this half human, half fish, or half reptile, or half Pisces. Others will call it beautiful, others say for like it's very mysterious. Others say stay away from it, basopo, it's dangerous. They also show up in legends across the world, but what do they really mean? As always, we're comparing our African beliefs with Western stories, with the science about mermaids. Njuzu, are they just fairy tales or are they spiritual beings that actually have real powers? Munoma Africa, you and I shared how many traditions look at mermaids or water spirits. We say that they can heal, they can bless, they can also punish. Maybe even in visions. Especially or specifically those who are called to become a spiritual medium of sorts. In the West, however, they're often seen as just pretty sea creatures, seeing and falling in love with human beings. That's what we want to understand on the show. The myths, the science, religion, and also the cultural meaning. Often it's beautiful. It has a tail, a fish tail or snake-like tail. In our context as Africa, you might see it a crocodile tail. Others will say it has jewelry, shimmering clothes, glowing skin. But that also depends on which part of Africa you may come through. We also shared the different names and cultural viewpoints across Africa. Takatanga, Titiku, West Africa, Cameroon, they call it Mami Wata. In Zimbabwe, Njuzu. If you go to Cameroon, you'll hear them calling it Jengu. South Africa, Mamlambo also works. In Yoruba, Nigeria, Yamoja. These are some of the names you would hear this creature being identified. Some are living in rivers, other in lakes, oceans. Now, from a Christian point of view, mermaids are seen as myths, and the Bible doesn't mention them directly. Some churches, when they look at mermaids, they say mass spiritual attacks. When you look at Islam texts don't actually confirm or deny that they are mermaids. But there are some old writings that mention sea humans, fish with human-like features, but not real mermaids. And then science says, there is no evidence that mermaids exist. Most sightings were probably just manatees or dungans seen by sailors who retired a long time ago. Because there's nothing, and yet still the idea of mermaids continues to inspire lots of art, movies, and many imaginations. So and as usual, we have voices coming in to help us really tie in this whole subject of mermaids. Today we want to do things a little bit different though. We want to start with the science, and then we'll have our religion and our traditional beliefs coming in. Iwo kanone mvunzo kana mabonera ako ukambosanga nawe Njuzu 0719104404. And don't forget, there is still something big to be won. But let me start off by welcoming a very special Dr. Lighton Marufu. He is an aquatic ecologist. In other words, he spends time understanding what's in our water, the quality of water, what sea creatures need to be eating. He's also a lecturer at the University of Zimbabwe. He has at least 15 years of experience. So you can imagine having worked on water bodies, kubva Lake Biwa mna Japan, Lake Victoria, he is one person who may have a bit of understanding what actually is in our water. He's also worked with NGOs. He's contributed immensely to different head of state agencies. He is particularly interested in invasive species and lake basin management. Doc, good morning. So excited to have you on our show.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you, and good morning to the listeners also.
We also have joining us on the line. So we're having a bit of feedback. I'm not sure whether it's Mufti or Doc. One of your phones is giving us feedback.
Okay, I think it's mine. I turned it off.
Alrighty. Mufti, it's so good to have you on the line. Mufti is an Islamic scholar. Mufti, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We are still having that feedback. Do any one of you have your phones on loudspeaker?
Yes, I've got mine on loudspeaker. Let me turn it off.
All right.
Okay.
All right, let's see how that's much better. There we go. And then we also have Mbuya Shoko, vanofamba vachiwisa chivanhu chaizvo ivo pachavo vanoti folake Njuzu ndinotoidziva kwanza kurapa kwandinoita hazvaigoneka deno ndisinawo kunge ndakavona njuzu iyoyi. Doc, let's start with you. Historically, when we were looking into the subject around mermaids, especially sailors that were coming onto the motherland, they would come in with boats, ships that would have creatures that fit the description of a mermaid. Do you think those sailors might have mistakenly seen something that may look like a mermaid, and what could that be?
Yes, thank you very much. It's interesting that people have got such a view, but if you do a Google search, you find that even people like Christopher Columbus actually were some of the first to think that they had seen mermaids, but it was later proven that it was a particular sea creature that has the same features like the ones that are described in that a mermaid actually has, but there is no scientific evidence, there is no specimen, there is no hard evidence anywhere that we have been given as scientists, or that we've been shown as scientists that there was actually a mermaid that was caught.
Mavonere, you say tirikuona kuti whether you're in Japan, makamenda Japan, Doc, whether you are in Alaska, whether you're in Australia, whether you're in Africa, it doesn't really matter which part of the world you are. Nearly every culture has stories around water spirits and water creatures. Why do you think that is?
It's interesting, and like I said before, I said my responses are going to be as a scientist. Okay?
Absolutely, yes.
So in science, what causes us to make progress in science is what we call the scientific method. Okay. So with science, you always start by asking a question. Like in this case, the question is, do mermaids exist or are they there? Which is a very good place to start, okay? Then the second thing that we do is we do a background check. And like you have just given me sort of like a background information of people that have given reports of what they think they saw or what they think exists, okay? After we do such a background check, we come up with what we call a hypothesis. Let's hypothesize that mermaids exist, okay? So using the scientific method, if we're to follow that line of thinking that they actually exist, as a scientist, my job will be to prove that they actually exist. And for me to prove that they exist, I will need to come up with a method or with a way of actually getting evidence of their existence. Either we go, like I said, I've done studies in Japan, in Zimbabwe, Lake Chivero, Lake Kariba, and there are a lot of aquatic scientists like me all over the world that have studied and they've put out their nets in deep oceans, in lakes, in rivers, but none of the people within my field, at least, okay, has ever caught or managed to capture what we are talking about today. So in terms of the scientific method, that is where we become stuck, okay? We do not have any sample, we do not have any hard evidence that they exist. So if there are people that, I know in the media, there are some pictures that were passed, that are always passed through, okay? But later on, we get to learn that they are fake. So that is where we become stuck using the science method. So according to the scientific method, we do not yet have evidence, physical evidence, at least physical evidence that mermaids are actually there. That is as far as we can go as scientists.
Got you. Now, removing your science hat for a second, Doc, do you think from what you've heard and also through your vast research, do you think it's possible that these mermaids might actually represent something? Maybe, power of the water itself, maybe.
Okay. Once I take off my scientific hat, I'll have to put on my spiritual hat.
Right.
Okay. Once I do that, I'll have to refer to maybe scripture.
Right.
Okay.
Go for it.
From scripture, we learn that there is a supreme God. Okay, the one who made heaven and earth.
Right.
That one is the one that I've got evidence that he exists because there are scriptures that talk about him. Okay. Then if I get into the Bible, I'm not sure if the reference of mermaids in the Bible yet. I may be wrong, but I have not come across them. Okay.
Okay, all right, got you. And do you think these beliefs around Njuzu, Nzuzizi do in some ways, from what you've heard and understood, actually help protect our rivers and lakes? Or do they actually hinder conservation? Because you're more into conservation, Andizi.
Yes, I'm more into conservation.
So these beliefs as a scientist, or somehow they might actually help your work in protecting rivers and lakes.
That would be interesting, okay? If they existed, we would have found them. But let's come to the conservation of our lakes and rivers. What I can give pros or gratitude to in terms of folklore sometimes, in terms of trying to protect and conserve our natural resources. I'm sure in Shona there are places or even water places where we say Zinoyera, okay? In Ndebele they say kule ndawo ezizilayo.
Right.
Okay. Then sometimes I'm trying to use what we call our traditional knowledge systems, okay, in conservation, okay. So our elders in the past, in order to be able to protect particular environments, they will come up. I believe they would come up with some of these stories, okay? Then they would work, okay? Then, so in terms, I'm not talking specifically about Njuzu, but I'm talking about indigenous knowledge systems and how they've actually helped to protect and conserve some of our natural resources, okay? One of the things, if I may divert just for a few seconds,
sure,
is even the use of totems. Our totems, Vanangube, Vana Mashumba, the Morphos and the like. That was a super way to actually conserve our natural resources because we were taught growing up with because or people would not be allowed to eat meat from the same totem that they have. It actually helped in terms of conserving some of our natural resources.
Got you.
So I'm just trying to tie in with the issue about Njimbo Zinoyera. Sometimes to help protect some of our natural resources, I believe maybe our elders in the past would come with words like Njimbo Inoyera, Indawo Ezizilayo, to try to protect those particular environments.
Got you.
We were doing a good job. I'm not so sure with how we are doing now, though.
Got you. Saka pamuri papa doc. Munototenda ere kuti kune vanhu vakatoshaikwa if I can use the word in English, when they violated some of these sacred spaces? Do you think they've been physical consequences of people violating spiritual places?
Personally, I do not have evidence of people that have actually disappeared or after violating.
All right, let me make it simpler for you. If you had children and if you went, say, Mount Nyangani, tinongo wawoti gomo rinoera witi zvamunoda uri ikoko, would you let your children go up that mountain and do whatever they want?
Let me bring it even closer. I stay in a place called Domboshava. We have got traditional leaders that tell us where to build and not where to build. And those, in wetlands, you're not supposed to build. You're not supposed to build Paneruare or where there are rocky mountains. Like I said before, some of these myths were meant to help us to better conserve our natural resources. That is what I think.
All right. You also said if you take your scientific hat and you put on your spiritual hat, you brought in the belief of God, and I think I understood that there is evidence because it's written in the Bible. Did I understand that extrapolation correctly?
Yes.
All right. So if we
I said existence of the supreme God, the highest.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Yes.
The existence of a supreme being because it is documented in the Bible.
Yes.
When we tell stories, so from an African perspective, anditi isusu kunyora is not how we document. We document through stories and passing down.
Yes.
Right? Is that not evidence, even from a spiritual argument, that perhaps mermaids might exist from a spiritual point of view because the documentation is there even orally?
Can you come again? I lost you there.
All right. You said earlier, right? You believe in the existence of a supreme being because it is documented in the Bible.
Yes.
And you believe so from a spiritual point of view. And I'm saying, is it also unlikely that if we were to spiritualize the existence of mermaids, right? And by using the same extrapolation of yours to say because it's documented in the Bible, we as Africans, our documentation has been more oral than written. Is that in itself, by your explanation, similar to perhaps then mermaids being in existence from a spiritual point of view because they are orally documented? Mbuya Shoko vari muno vakanyarara kuti ziva chitaura havo, being one person who may be able to articulate her documentation of the spiritual existence of mermaids.
Okay. Let me respond this way. How I introduced my Christian perspective, I said from the Bible we learn that there is God who is supreme. That does not mean that there are other spirits that are not there. Okay? We learn that it is from the Bible. If you remember, Moses' rod turned into a snake. Then the Pharaoh's guys also threw down their sticks, and they also turned into snakes. But the one that Moses had thrown down ended up eating or killing the ones that the other people had thrown. Okay? So from a spiritual perspective, my emphasis was that there is a supreme God.
Got you.
There can be an existence of these other familiar spirits, but the God that we worship is the supreme God.
So for now, yes, we are not even debating who's who in terms of hierarchy or whatever. For now, we're just simply examining how you've understood the existence of God outside scientific evidence, right?
Yes.
And explained it from a spiritual point of view. So I'm just juxtaposing your argument to say, could it not be possible that mermaids may also be a spiritual experience, evidenced by the fact that in our tradition, say in Africa, it is orally documented. Other countries have actually written it down. So let's say they have their own Bible that narrates stories of mermaids as evidence, like you were saying from the Bible. The story you've given of a snake into a rod cannot be scientific, right? It is spiritual. You believe it because it is documented.
Yes.
So if mermaids are documented, as a spiritual experience in our African context, might that also then mean they do exist?
Like I said, I'm agreeing with you, because my response as a scientist was there being no evidence of their physical existence.
Right.
Then when we switched over to the spiritual,
Right.
I said, from my Christian background, there's a supreme God. Okay? And then from the story that I talked about Moses throwing down his rod and Pharaoh's chiefs also throwing down their rods and they also turning into snakes, I was agreeing that there can be other spirits that are there. By default, I'm saying it's possible that there are spirits that call themselves mermaids, okay? But they are not higher or more supreme than the God who created the heaven and the earth.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So for now, you're right. For now, we're not even debating anyone's supremacy. We are just examining their existence. Mbuya Shoko makatira chiremba vari kurondedzera. Mavonera vanoita iwe nyaya yenjuzu yamunoti mimi dziriyo njuzu. Zvino chiremba vari kutibata hadzionekwi njuzu idzi. Hakuna pasi rino rose zvatsvakiwa pavaonekwa mafupa enjuzu kuti yakanga iri munhu kumusoro asi mukavona kuzasi kwava kwehove zvinoreva kuti yanga iri njuzu.
Makadiko vateereri, chokwadi nyaya yacho futi ine zvakawanda zvingarondedzerwa asi nguva chete ndiyo inotiita cut off, inotiguridzira. Asi regai ndingopindura nepadiki kuti izvi zvinonzi madocument zvakanyorwa, madocuments akanyorwa kuti vanhu vagodzidza kuti upenyu hwepano pasi hwakamira sei. Isusu tinoti ku-ATR hakusi kudzidza chete kwatinoita ku-ATR, asi kuti kutozviexperiensa life zvinhu zvacho. Mapfupa anonzi anoonekwa ari marangwanda achiratidza kuti kumusoro munhu pasi ihove, zvigofungidzirwa kuti injuzu yainge iri njuzu chokwadi, dzinotofawo dzinotobereka nawo sezvatakaita. Regai ndikurumidze kutaura kuti vanga vasingazive, pasi penyika, pasi pemvura chaipo apa, pane nyika yakaita seino iyi nyika yatinorarama, inorarama njuzu dzichibereka nawo dzichimultiplayawo sezvetiri kuita, kuchitorimwawo minda, kune mombe, kune huku, kune zvivanzeyo zvinototsvairwa. Saka kana njuzuwo dzichitiona isusu dzakatitarisavo kuno kunyika yakaoma yatiri, dzinotoonawo upenyu huri strange semaonero etinodziitawo isusu. Saka isusu kwedu, isusu ku-ATR kuna vanhu, kana nanhasi ndichida kutotaura chokwadi chakaperera chisingataurwe zvacho, kuna vanhu vapenyu vatiinawo. Let me tell you the truth, even businessmen, high businessmen, vanotoenda kunyika yekumvura yepasi, chisiri chitema ba, asi kuti zvinoitwa nevanhu vanenge vaita hochekoche nazvo. Regai nditaure ndichiti njuzu noupenyu hwadzo, presenter wedu vari kutaura chokwadi zviri spiritual, upenyu huri spiritual. Asi maitiro avo vari pasi pemvura ava vachirarama, kwatiri isu mahigh supreme edu isusu, nokuti kuna mapowers, maforces ariko ikoko anogona kurwa kana kuti kupa upenyu hwakanaka. Good as kuno isusu mapowers ekurwa kana kuparadza kana kuuraya tinawo, mapowers ekupa upenyu nokuita zvakanaka tinazvo zvese izvozvo. Regai ndisiye mukana DJ vabvunzi.
Now, Mufti, you've also been listening in to this raging debate we've been having for the last couple of weeks. And one of the things that's very clear between the science, between religion, between our African spirituality, is the belief in spirituality on some level, right? So for Islam, it is in the belief of Allah as your supreme being. Christianity, which Doc was speaking to right now, is the existence of God, and similar into ATR. And outside the existence of a supreme being, there are also other spiritual elements. Angels, for example. I'm almost sure Doc has probably never in his scientific world seen evidence in the physical form of an angel, but he probably may subscribe to the idea of an angel. So similarly, when we are...
Radio. Makwenda. All right.
Mufti, we're speaking to you,
Yes,
Mufti.
Okay, yes, I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm listening, yes.
All right. So, with the emergence of mermaids in our, say, African spirituality, how can we balance that belief? Because so far they seem to be helpers, right? They're not there to destroy. How then do we balance the belief in spirituality with the science, with the religion?
Yeah, for scientists it will be difficult for scientists to believe in mermaids. For scientists, they believe in evidence, things, documentation, things which they see. But I think they also realize that there are things which are not seen by the naked eye, as you did actually mention that the angels. I think all major religions they mention the issue of angels, but no one has seen an angel like in this day and age. You can't see an angel, and an ordinary person cannot see an angel. Maybe except those who claim they have superpower of seeing angels, but we know they exist. So in the same manner, as far as Muslims, we place Njuzu or mermaids in the spiritual world. They are under the heading of jinn. So we've got creatures who are known as jinn. So these jinn have got the ability of taking the form of different animals. So in this case now, they've taken the form of this sea creature, which is half woman, half fish. And now, these jinn have got the ability of doing good and bad. So there are some good jinn who worship God, and some are bad jinn. Now people associate will now associate with this bad jinn, from which the Njuzu will be like. Because we have heard stories of people maybe using these Njuzus to earn money or to be linked to Mbingas, rich men and so forth. Actually, we've had issues of Njuzu actually making people disappear. So this is the angle which we see Islam taking upon. So in Islam, we believe, yes, we can't ordinarily see them. That's why even up to now, you can't really see a picture of Njuzu. No one can tell you this is we see drawings, but no real pictures.
Gotcha.
Even the devil himself, the devil exists, but does anyone has anyone caught the devil on film or on TV? So this is from the world of this thing.
0719-100-404. What's your experience or your thought process around Njuzu? We were having the science, the religion, and spirituality on one table today. Science is saying there is no evidence of the existence of mermaids, but Mbuya Shoko is here to say no, but it's just and we see how they are impactful. Mufti is explaining, but yes, there are many things we may not see in the physical sense, but they do exist. So how do we merge these different angles into one? Good morning, welcome to Capital.
Hello, Makadi.
Tinofara chazvo makadi.
Right. Pane nzvimbo iri kuchitungwiza nditi. Mukabvunza vagari veko vanokuudzai pakamboitirwa chechi nevamwe vanhu vakatombopinda matrable. Pane bako riripo rekuti hamungopinda, rinogona kusvika kunana bhindura kunana masembura uko. Ndopamunoona life inenge iri underground, kuti pane zvinoitika pasi pevhu ipapa. Ndombosiya iyoyo. Tikaenda kuna Jesu paakafa paipa handiti ari kunzi akambenga ari pasi pevhu. Then after 3 days ndobva kudai vaivainzi 400 kana kuti chiko 4000 vari promised vakabuda navo achienda navo kudenga. Muone kuti zvinhu zvinoitika underground hazvinzwisisike neexplanation yeavo vari kuda kuedza kuita zvechiscientist. Vanhu vatema chaizvo vanotonyatsoziva magariro evanhu vatema, kungoti vada kungohwanda havo nekuti tiri mascientist, but zvechivanhu chaizvo vanozviziva ende they practice. Ivo pamwe havapractice. Dai vadzidzise kuti ngavabvunze vanoziva nezveizvozvo, kwete kuti vagoita kwengetete nharo nezvinhu zvavasingazive vagoshingirira. Ngavabvunze, vatsvage knowledge, vaudzwe, vapindwe. Endai navo pandataura napo paipai, vakapusa pamwe vanotogona kutadza kuzobuda futi imomo, because hamungopindwa zvezvo zvehozi.
Tinotenda nokufona kwamaita. Doc, can I allow you an opportunity to respond to this? Because the other question I wanted to throw at you, and not you personally, and I hope you're not taking this as an attack to you as a scientist, no, but do you then think there is a place for somebody to be an African, to believe in Christianity or Islam, and also in science?
Thank you for what you have just said. I'm sorry I couldn't hear the caller clearly, but I am hearing you clearly.
All right, let me summarize what the caller was saying. He was just giving an example kuti ke zvinomukanda kuchitungwisako kunotova nenzvimbo inoera inotoratidza kuti ukaitarira unogona kwai unopinda ndizvo mbuya ukakwanisa
unotopinda pasi kwete handiyo muteereri angotaura nzvimbo yake imwe chete itori diki kune dzimwe nzvimbo dzinotoera ukatopinda pasi unogona kunobudira uchifamba uri pasi unogona kunobudira kukaribha uko kukariva dhemu.
All right, got you.
Yes.
So his point was there is from kana uri munhu mutema, there is enough things around us that point to the fact that there is something out there just outside what the naked eye is seeing, and he's challenging that perhaps science in itself might also want to take a different eye to approaching some of these subjects. So I then brought it back to you to say, is it possible for you then as a person, not necessarily you as Doc, but the idea of religion, science and culture and being African all coming into one?
Yes, it's very. I like the comment that you said came from the caller, and also your comment or question. Is it possible for all of these to merge? Maybe from my experience as a scientist, the findings that we keep getting, they keep pointing to what is actually in the Bible. Okay, so to some extent, science actually confirms some of the truths that are actually found in the Bible.
Okay. How does science confirm? Mufti gave an example of, say, the devil or an angel. How does science come in to support that thinking?
Give some examples of not necessarily that one, but the example is what you call in the book of Genesis. Okay, you know the story about the snake and how after it deceived after it deceived men, there was some kind of judgment that it was going to creep on its belly. Okay, then from a scientist perspective, if you do a bit of research on the skeleton that the snake actually has, you can actually get to note that there are some appendages along its mabonzo ayo, along its column, that show the use that snakes actually used to have. Legs.
But let's bring back the
can actually be used to confirm or dispel some of these myths.
Got you. But the example that we're using here is one where science is not backing, but it is a belief system like the burning bush that could speak, for example. I don't think there's any science that can prove that bushes can talk, but it is a belief system that many people may hold. Only because of time, we've got to go to the news bulletin. Doc, thank you so much for being on our show. Mufti, always a pleasure having you. Mbuya, Shoko, it's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
It's 11 o'clock. It's time for the news.
Thank you so much for inviting.
Expressing the